Today we're going to talk about the Bitcoin halvening. You know, in our lifetime, we will experience a couple more halvenings.
Oh, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like this one coming up is going to be something different because, yeah, the normies are norming. You know, they're watching the Kardashian. They're calling Bitcoin a scam. So let's talk about Bitcoin halvening. So
this website here is www.thehalvening.com, and it just explains the very basics of the halvening, of what will happen. Of course, the halvening, when we say halvening, is just kind of like a meme-ish type word. People just say it because it sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
The actual word for Bitcoin is like you can see here, Bitcoin halving.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just means every 4 years, the rewards that miners gets cut in half. So
right.
Here's a better explanation of this that will be really simple. So in the Bitcoin network, user transactions are grouped in blocks and recorded to a digital public ledger called a blockchain. So we went over that in our show number 1.
Yeah.
Miners are in charge of this task and receive a mining reward in the form of Bitcoins for each block recorded. The amount of Bitcoins rewarded for each block decreases with time. Basically, it is halved every 4 years. So this event, the moment when the mining reward is divided by 2, is called the Bitcoin halving. Other ways to say it are the reward drop, reward halving, or simply halving, or the halvening, which I said before is kind of like part from the meme culture of Bitcoin. So it was created in 2009, and the first rewards at the beginning were 50 Bitcoins per block that miners got a reward for.
Right.
2012, it dropped to 25 Bitcoins per block. And then in 2016, it dropped to, and this website was actually made before 2016, so it says will take place, but it already happened. But in 2016, it dropped to 12.5 Bitcoin, which is what we currently get.
Yeah.
And the next one will drop to 6.25 Bitcoin in 2020.
And that's interesting because, so it happened in July 2016, and then December 2017, it went to 20,000.
Yeah, so we'll show a chart later of what happens before and after halvenings. On both sides, the 1 year before, the price goes up gradually, and the year or so after, the price goes up, but very crazy.
Yeah, so it's going to be, like I said, this is, you know, it's halved every 4 years, so literally next year, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and if you look at the countdown here, you know, got the rocket number 3 going to the moon again.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just see the ETA here of 409 days, which is May 2020 basically. Here you can see a little bit of the meme culture. So when it's happening, it's happening. And you got Ron Paul going crazy too. Yeah, I think that's probably the main best explanation for what it is. But I guess the other question then is, why does it happen, right? You want to kind of think about Satoshi Nakamoto. Why did he create this, and why did he create this system for distributing the Bitcoin?
Right.
So the first reason is, like you said before, there's 2 things, right? Supply and demand. So if demand is good, supply decreases, price increases.
Mm-hmm. Very
simple. Yeah, so he wanted to keep Bitcoin scarce, limited, and finite.
Right.
But he didn't want to give it all out at the same time. Because if he gave all the Bitcoin out at the beginning, then basically the price would never increase. The value, people wouldn't be able to find its value through natural market price discovery.
Right.
So by slowly distributing the Bitcoin, the price gives people time to understand what the value of Bitcoin is and then attribute a real value to it. The second thing it does is it's Satoshi's way to battle inflation. Because as you know, fiat currency has crazy inflation. Like the price of the dollar, what you could buy with the dollar, 100 years ago is, basically, worthless today.
Right.
So if you were to keep dollars under your pillow for 100 years, they'd become worthless almost. Right. Whereas if you keep gold under your pillow, it keeps its value generally. And Bitcoin is made to increase in value as long as the demand continues to increase. And because the supply is limited and people want it, the demand will continue to grow higher, and so people will be wanting to get more of it.
It's basically it's its own currency without any governing authority, and the only reason that currency devaluates is because the governing authority becomes corrupt. But in this situation, the governing authority is a mathematical algorithm, so it cannot become corrupt.
The other thing to look at here, which is interesting, is here this website called satoshi.nakamotoinstitute.org. You can see a lot of the communications from the beginning of Bitcoin, because Satoshi Nakamoto, who is kind of the pen name for the guy who created Bitcoin, he, was actually talking with people, telling people about this technology when it first came out. So he, put the white paper out, put the idea out at the end of 2008. So you can see here, this email was November 2008, and he started putting out the white paper in October, I believe, of that year. And then Bitcoin went live in January 3rd, 2009. And here you can see some people asking about inflation, because this guy, or this group of people, which are penned as Satoshi Nakamoto, these emails, they're kept on this website for a reason. So basically talking about inflation and how Bitcoin is made. He basically says increasing hardware speed. So basically, if the hardware that people use to mine Bitcoin becomes faster, what will happen? So he made Bitcoin able to compensate for future technology increases, right?
Right.
So here it says, to compensate for increasing hardware speed and varying interests in running nodes. So running nodes means people who are validating the transactions, the miners,
right,
that are decentralized. So varying interest in running nodes over time, the proof of work difficulty, which is how Bitcoin is made, the algorithm, is determined by a moving average targeting an average number of blocks per hour. And that means usually there's one block every 10 minutes, and that has stayed consistent throughout history. So that's 6 blocks per hour.
Right.
If they're generated too fast, the difficulty increases. So if people get better computers and are able to mine this faster, the difficulty increases in the algorithm, so that every 10 minutes, roughly, the same block is mined and the reward is given. Currently 12.5 Bitcoins, next year 6.25. So that right there is the most important sentence in this email.
Yeah.
Because that is the opposite of what is happening with the United States government. This halving, which will happen in May 2020, the market price is in the halving because people expect the price to go up because the supply goes down.
Right.
And demand is staying the same, if not increasing.
Right.
So people know that the price will go up once the halving happens. So usually on the day of the halving, the price actually doesn't really move that much.
Oh.
So if you focus on, okay, I'm going to wait till the exact halving and then buy some Bitcoin, you're too late. The market price is in the increase in price 1 year roughly before. I had a good example of that right here. So you can see on this chart in the first halving, which happened in 2012, happened in the end of 2012, right here. 1 year before, the price steadily increased. And that price went from roughly $2 to $8. And then...
at that first blue arrow.
Yeah. It went from at the bottom box of the first blue arrow on the bottom left of this 52-bar box. It started around $2 or maybe $1 and some change, and then went up to roughly about $8, $8.50. And then the yellow box, you can see after the halving, the price goes insane for a year or so. And that price increase was actually even crazier. It was about $15 to about $1,200.
Yeah.
Which is an 80 times increase. So that means the 1 year before the halving, you want to be accumulating because the price will increase significantly. And you can see this only happened twice, but it's going to happen again the third time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's free money if you pay attention to this. And same with the year 2016. So 1 year before that, it started around $280-ish. And then in this blue box, and then went up to, at the second halving, it went up to about $700, which is a 143% increase, which is good. So if you want to basically double your money, which is what, that's even more than doubling your money. But if you roughly want to double your money, that's, you just in the next 1 year accumulate like half a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
In the next probably 3 months.
Just sit on it.
And then sit on it for a year, you'll double your money. And then, again, the yellow box, went crazy, about 3,000% increase. And that time it went up to $650 to $20,000, which is a 30 times increase. So the first yellow box was a 80 times increase. Second yellow box was a 30 times increase. So actually a little bit less than half. So let's say the next one, the next yellow box. How are we going to look at this next 1 year and then the year after that?
The last one on the chart here, the far right.
Exactly. This accumulation where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So from May of this year, so next month, until May of 2020 when the next halving, the third halving happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say the price right now will average around $4,500. Right, we're at 5,200 now. If it goes down to like 4,000, let's just say $4,500 roughly is the mark we're looking at here. And then 1 year, if we do the same thing as the last two, we'll probably get to about $11,000 per Bitcoin, which is a little bit more than double, maybe triple, in May of 2020. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Then, after 2020, going into 2021, 2022, the price, if it doesn't do, like, so if we took the 80 times in the first yellow box, 30 times in the second yellow box, so let's go down by half and then some change. So let's just be conservative and say it goes like 11 times. This 12,000 roughly, or 11,000 mm-hmm. at the end of the blue box going into the next yellow box. If we say about $11,000 times 11 or $12,000 times 11, it's about 130 to 100, about $130,000. So that would
for
be
one Bitcoin.
For one Bitcoin in 2021, 2022.
Now people might hear that and think you're crazy.
Good.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be, rolling in it.
Yeah. Charles is going to be on a boat.
I'm on a boat. Exactly. And I think that's conservative. So if you look at these past histories, one thing to keep in mind is history doesn't repeat exactly, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing to be paying attention to over the course of the next 2 years.
So just have your goals set up, have your targets lined up, and then make your move. And then assume just ultimately, and it just has to be said. Of course, it's not financial advice. This is not financial advice at all. But if you were to take our advice, you made some money. But we're not giving financial advice.